Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every man's life when excuses expire. A moment when blaming the past, waiting for motivation, and hiding behind distractions no longer fits the person we are meant to become. That moment is now. Today is not about perfection. It's not about ego, bravado, or pretending to be strong. Today is about ownership. The courage to face your reflection and admit there is more in you than the world has yet seen. Because becoming a man isn't about age. It's about alignment. When your values match your actions, when your word becomes your identity, when your future stops waiting for you and starts responding to you. This is the call. Not to be better than someone else, but to become the man you were supposed to be all along. And if not today, when? Taking responsibility is the moment a man stops negotiating with his own potential. It's the shift from believing life is happening to him to realizing life is responding to him. Men often wait for perfect timing, perfect motivation, or perfect clarity. But responsibility begins when a man accepts that waiting is the very thing holding him back. Nothing changes until he admits that his choices, not his circumstances, are writing his story. Women see this transformation long before men do. They watch how a man handles pressure, responds to setbacks, or owns his mistakes because responsibility signals maturity, safety, and intention. When a man stops blaming his past or external forces, he communicates something powerful. I am accountable for what I create. This is not only attractive, it is stabilizing. It's the foundation of respect. Men, on the other hand, feel the weight of responsibility as both a burden and a calling. It forces them to confront their fears, their indecision, and their hidden insecurities. Yet it also unlocks confidence, clarity, and direction. Responsibility becomes the quiet contract a man signs with himself, promising that his actions will match his values and his future will be shaped by effort rather than excuses. Purpose is the force that transforms a man from someone who reacts to life into someone who directs it. Without purpose, a man drifts, pulled by distractions, emotions, and the expectations of others. But with purpose, even uncertainty becomes navigable. A man with direction wakes up differently, speaks differently, and carries himself with an inner conviction that cannot be borrowed or faked. Purpose becomes the internal compass that stops him from living on autopilot. Women notice this difference immediately. They sense when a man has something meaningful driving him versus when he's simply moving through life without aim. Purpose in a man creates emotional stability because it reveals intention rather than impulse. It shows that his decisions are connected to something larger than the moment. This draws respect, trust, and admiration, not because he is perfect, but because he is anchored. Men experience purpose as a quiet but powerful awakening. It gives them a reason to endure hardship, to choose discipline over comfort, and to stand firm when everything around them feels uncertain. Purpose doesn't eliminate struggle, but it gives struggle direction. It becomes the reason a man grows, the reason he sacrifices, and the reason he becomes someone he himself can finally respect. Discipline is the moment a man decides that who he wants to become matters more than how he feels in the moment. Motivation is fleeting, strong today, absent tomorrow. But discipline turns intention into identity. When a man commits to doing what needs to be done regardless of mood, convenience, or comfort, he stops relying on emotional spikes and starts relying on his own character. Discipline becomes the structure that holds him together when motivation disappears, and it always does. Women recognize the power of this shift in ways men often overlook. They watch how consistently a man shows up, whether he keeps his promises and whether his actions match his words. Discipline communicates dependability, and dependability communicates safety. When a man demonstrates that he can govern himself, it reassures those around him that he won't crumble under pressure or abandon responsibility when it becomes difficult. This isn't about rigidity, it's about reliability. Men feel discipline as the slow, steady evolution of who they believe themselves to be. Each disciplined choice reinforces a new identity, one built on strength rather than impulse. It gives a man pride, not from results alone, but from the integrity of effort. Discipline turns chaos into order, confusion into clarity, and potential into proof of who he is becoming. The people a man surrounds himself with quietly shape the standards he lives by. Friends, peers, and influences act like mirrors, reflecting either the best in him or the parts he's trying to escape. When a man spends time with those who challenge him, support his growth, and hold him accountable, he naturally rises to meet a higher version of himself. But when he stays close to those who drain his ambition or normalize mediocrity, he slowly drifts into a life he never consciously chose. Women observe a man's circle as a window into his values. They pay attention to the character of the men he admires, the conversations he engages in, and the behavior he tolerates. To them, a man's company signals his priorities and maturity. If he connects with people who elevate him, it suggests he is committed to becoming someone worthy of respect. If he surrounds himself with negativity, irresponsibility, or distraction, it reveals where his life is likely headed. Women see pattern. Long before results appear. Men feel the influence of their circle in ways that often go unnoticed until distance brings clarity. The right company pulls out discipline, courage, and ambition. The wrong company pulls him back into excuses, comfort, and stagnation. A man becomes a reflection of the expectations around him, rising to match strong standards or falling to meet weak ones. A man's word is the most accurate measure of who he truly is. It is easy to speak with confidence, to promise change, or to declare intentions, but character is revealed in the quiet moments when no one is watching. When a man treats his word as a contract, with himself and with others, he builds an identity grounded in integrity rather than impulse. Keeping his word becomes less about impressing people and more about honoring the person he is committed to becoming. Women understand the weight of a man's word with remarkable clarity. They listen not only to what he says, but to how consistently he follows through. To them, reliability is not just admirable, it's foundational. A man who honors his commitments creates a sense of emotional safety that cannot be faked. His actions demonstrate stability, maturity, and intention. When his words and behavior align, trust grows naturally. When they don't, doubt grows just as quickly. A woman doesn't need dramatic speeches or grand gestures. She needs consistency. Men feel the impact of their word most deeply in the moments when they choose between convenience and commitment. Every time a man breaks his word, he weakens his sense of self. Every time he keeps it, he strengthens it. This is why honoring commitments, even the small, simple ones, matters so much. It builds discipline, confidence, and a sense of internal respect. Eventually, a man's word becomes his reputation, his reliability becomes his identity, and his actions become proof of the stand-up. Friends he holds himself to. Choosing growth is the moment a man decides that who he could become matters more than the comfort of who he is right now. Growth demands discomfort, uncertainty, and a willingness to face the parts of himself he has avoided. Comfort keeps a man still, but growth pulls him toward a future that requires courage. A boy seeks ease, entertainment, and escape. A man chooses challenge, responsibility, and evolution. The line between them is drawn by the willingness to do what is difficult when comfort would be easier. Women feel the difference between comfort-driven behavior and growth-driven character with striking intuition. They can sense when a man is avoiding responsibility, playing small, or choosing habits that protect his ego instead of strengthening his future. At the same time, they admire a man who leans into discomfort for the sake of becoming better, someone who confronts his weaknesses, seeks improvement, and accepts temporary pain in exchange for long-term stability. To them, growth is not just attractive, it is a sign of emotional maturity and future readiness. Men experience the battle between comfort and growth as an internal tension that never fully disappears. Growth is demanding, often lonely, and at times painfully honest, yet it builds pride, direction, and self-respect. Every hard choice a man makes in favor of growth, waking up earlier, taking responsibility, having tough conversations, setting boundaries, or pursuing meaningful goals, shapes the man he becomes. Over time, these choices forge resilience, discipline, and purpose, turning potential into a lived reality. Growth becomes the path that transforms fear into strength, uncertainty into capability, and a boy's impulses into a man's identity.